But Virginia Tech, with James Franklin at the helm, SMU has a chance to get a little bit of revenge here, with that Penn State game at James Franklin's prior stop, being kind of a disaster in a sense. Kevin Jennings has an opportunity here to step back up against a James Franklin team that has undergone a ton of changes. They'll have a new quarterback at the helm of this Virginia Tech program, and one that SMU, will have at least seen some film on in Ethan Grunkmeyer coming over from Penn State. They'll have a ton of film on him from Virginia Tech at this point, but this is a name brand program coming to Dallas, and I think Virginia Tech people will show out in Dallas in a big way for this one too.
Is it selfish to say I kind of wish this game was in Blacksburg?
No, no.
I'm glad to get the extra home game because SMU does have 7 home games on this schedule. But looking at Virginia Tech, I think before the season, you look at it of, well, they fired Brent Pry, and you're looking at all of Brent Pry, excuse me. You're looking at this game as, oh, well, they're going to be in complete rebuild mode. No, they hired Pry back as the defensive coordinator, and James Franklin is getting a lot of Penn State caliber players, whether that's high school guys that flipped, whether that's Penn State guys that are transferring. This is going to be a team that's going to have more talent than we're probably expecting them to have before the James Franklin move was made. So I look at this game as it immediately became the best home game of the year when this was added to the schedule. And I'm looking at this game as one of those, if it's a night game or even if it's a 2:30, I think Ford Stadium is going to be absolutely rocking in this game.
Yeah, I do as well. I think SMU fans are going to be needing to bring it. And at this point of the season, it could very well be one that is, determining kind of whether or not SMU is, going into November or the back half of November is like I don't say shoe in, but kind of putting SMU in that same situation that it was in going into the Cal game. If SMU gets this win and, has hit expectations along the line, this is one of the last hurdles to getting this. And I'm high on what Virginia Tech is going to be able to do. I think the drastic, like I've seen them in a couple of top 25s. I've seen them, as kind of this trendy pick to be in Charlotte and things like that. But I think there's enough of a makeover that's needed offensively that I just don't see it happening for them this year. But nonetheless, James Franklin's a really good coach. He's going to have his team prepared. But this is an overall change in mindset, especially offensively. And he brought a lot of that Penn State staff with him offensively in a sense. So I'm almost not that concerned about this game compared to some of the other ones that SMU will be facing at home over the course of this stretch of this season in a sense. Am I nuts?
The way that I look at it, the Hokies went 3-9 last year. That would be the turnaround of, dare I say, the decade for the ACC if they go from 3-9 to being in Charlotte. I do think that they'll double their win total. I think they'll be bowl eligible next year. But looking at this game, I still think that there's going to be too much unproven for Virginia Tech. It's going to be the first game in November, which is another thing to consider. But I still think that this is one of those games where, yes, it's going to be big. Yes, there's going to be stakes. Yes, there's going to be media hype. But you also look at how much media hype North Carolina had going into last year and the extreme letdown from that. So it's really two sides of the same coin. We could see a Virginia Tech team that, yes, if all the stars align and everything goes their way, could they be in Charlotte? I think so. But you could also see a 4-8 season from Virginia Tech, just with how much has happened, how much turnaround there has to be. But they're going to have some serious commitment from their fan base. They have one of the premier destinations in college football for road games, as that place is always rocking. But I just think year one is too soon to have these high expectations for James Franklin.
And I think, and this is, again, just me kind of watching at least the programs and kind of the history. You look at last year's production from, and this is kind of a slight tangent, so I'll try to keep it short here. But you look at Virginia, you look at Cal, you look at Syracuse, you look at Wake Forest, and when those teams were on, wow, what a season it looked like they were going to be having, and in some cases finished off and had great seasons. How big of a step back are we going to be seeing from some of those teams? And in the day and age of the portal where no one stays the same, you can make changes, you can do this, you can do that. I, I just don't get the feeling that we're going to be sitting here going into Virginia, going into Wake Forest in particular, sitting there saying, oh, wow, those are going to be major league tests in a sense. So this schedule, if you kind of look at it like that, I don't know. I mean, some people just think, Tony Elliott is going to have Bo Pribula come in and he's going to be great. And if it's not not Bo Pribula, it's going to be Eli Holstein. I don't know. That's a heavy lift for Virginia to be that good again because Chandler Morris did so much to make things happen for them. I just don't see them having that special of a run